Hello, you are most welcome. Yeah, it's Henry the Computer Guy, and this is our second video about the introduction to desktop publishing software. And remember, we say that our main focus is going to be Microsoft Publisher. So in this video, we are mainly going to be focusing onto the menu bar because we previously talked about the interface and all the icons on the toolbars. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the real practice and see how we can work this out. So remember, I've already pinned my Microsoft Publisher onto my taskbar. So I'm just going to click on it, then it will be able to open for me. So having clicked onto my taskbar onto Microsoft Publisher, it will open for me this interface called the Getting Started with Microsoft Publisher 2007. And when you look at this interface, on the top here, we really have what we call the menu bar containing the tabs for which we are actually going to be looking at. For example, we have the file, we have the edit, we have the view, the insert format, and all the other tabs that we are going to be looking at. Then down here, we are having the publication types. For example, we can begin with a blank page size. We can have the adverts. We can have the certificates. We can have the banners, brochures, business cards, and so many others, the way you look at them here. Then in the middle here, we have the popular publication types. For example, we can also have the blank page sizes. We can have the brochures. We can have the business cards. We can have the calendars, emails, flyers, greeting cards, and so many others, the way you look at them there. Then on the right here, we have the recent publications. For example, if you have recently worked on a publication, then it will always be listed under this section, and you can always reopen it from this section the way you see them here. So having explained our interface, let's now see how we can work with the menu bar. And remember, our menu bar is on the top here. It begins with a tab called the file. And when we click onto our file here, we have options. For example, we have the new, we have the open, close, import from Word document, we have save, save as, and all the other items that are there. But when you look at these other icons here, they are inactive, just meaning that we have not already inserted any blank page to activate them. What we are going to do is to first of all insert a blank page, then they will be active for us to use. So let's do that right away. So when I come here, I'm going to be choosing the blank page sizes, and having chosen my blank page sizes, I'm going to look at the pages that I have here, and I can choose any page of my choice. For example, for my case, I'm going to be using the A4 landscape, and having clicked on it, you can as well be able to customize some information this side by coming to the customization pane. For example, you can always change the color scheme, you can always choose the font schemes. You can also add some business information. And having selected all this information for your page, you can now come to the option that says create. So I'm going to click on it, then it will take us directly to this other section where we have our blank page size. So this is what we are going to be using for the whole of this video. And we are going to go back to our first tab that is called the file. So when you look at this tab, the first option we are having on top here is the new. We can also use a shortcut called Control plus N. So this can help us to create a new publication. For example, we have been working with this publication and we want to open a new publication, then we can always use this option. So I'm not going to use it because we already have a new publication we are working with, so you can as well use it later. Another option that we are having is the open. For example, yesterday you created a publication or you created a publication some time back and you want to reopen it or you want to open it, you can always use this second option, and the shortcut for it is Ctrl plus O. So when I click on it, it will give me an allowance of browsing for that publication. Then I can always come and click on it. Then I can always open it whenever I feel I want. So that is it for the second option, which is the open. So when we come back here, our third option is the close. So if you're done with your publication, you can as well be able to close it using this option, which is the Ctrl plus F4. So you can always use it whenever you want to close your publication. So another option we have down here is the import Word document. Assuming that you have some information from a Word document and you want to bring it into your publication, you can always use this option for the import Word document. So you'll just click on it, then it gives you an allowance of browsing for that document. Then you can always have the information into your publication brought for you there. So let's come to another option. Another option we are having is actually the save. You want to retain your publication or keep your publication for further reference, then you can always use the save option or the shortcut called Ctrl+S, because we have to save our publication and we can always have a copy of it whenever we feel we want to add some information there. So let me click onto this option that says save. And having clicked on it, it will ask me where I want to save my publication. And of course, I'm going to be saving it onto my desktop. So I'm going to be looking for that option. And having selected desktop, I'll come onto my desktop here. I'll look through the folders that are there. If I want to create a new folder, then I will just identify any free space, right click onto my mouse, then come to the option that says new, then come and click on folder. So I'm going to be giving it a name. For example, I'm going to be calling it publication. Let me call it publication. I'll come down here to this option, then I'll say open. So that means that they are going to help me open this folder. So remember, I'm on the desktop under the folder now called publication. So I'll have to give my publication a name from this section. So I'm going to give it a name called menu bar because it's the one we are going to be basing on. Menu bar. And having finished giving it a name, then we can also choose the save as type. Of course, these are publisher files, so I'll leave it as that. Then I'll click on the option that says save. Whenever you're using the save option, it's like you're going to be modifying the current document you're having here. So let's go and look at another option that we have here. Another option we have is the save as. Remember, we have used first of all the save, and we have been saving our publication for the first time. Or we can also use the save option to modify the current publication that we are having. But now we have the save as option. When do we use the save as option? We always use this option whenever we want to change a name of our publication and even a location. For example, we want to put it in another location, then we can always use the save as option. Let me try it and see. So when you come and click onto the save as option, it gives us an allowance of choosing another location. For example, if I wanted to go to documents, then I can choose documents. If I wanted to leave it on the same desktop, I can leave it on the same desktop in the same folder, then I can give it another name from here. So that is what the save as do. So I'm going to be closing it because I don't want to save another copy, and we can continue with that. So another option we are having here is actually publish to the web. But before I talk about the publish to the web, I can first of all write some information onto my blank page. And remember, previously we say that whenever you want to write onto your blank page, you need what we call a text box. And I'm going to be selecting that text box from here. So we can as well come and look for the text box from insert, then come to this section and click on text box. Then we can always click on it and drag it wherever we want to write our information. Now, having put our text box, you're going to identify that the size for the characters we are going to be writing are very smaller. So what you can do, you can as well decide to increase the size of those characters from this section. Then I say, let me make it 72. I can say Henry. And I can say the computer. Henry the computer guy. So this is what I'm having. I can even decide to put it in the center. I can even decide to change the color or anything that I feel I want to add onto this. So let's come back and say, click on file. Then we can go to the option that says publish to the web. And whenever we need to publish our publication to the web, we can always use this option. Let me click on it and see. And having clicked on it, it is going to give us this information, which is telling us that to publish your website, you need to subscribe to a web hosting provider. If you do not have a web hosting provider, click on the link below to find one on Microsoft Office offline. Otherwise, click OK. So I don't need that provider. I'm just going to click OK. And here they are telling you that this publication is set up for print. To create a website, convert it to a web publication. So you can always convert to the publication, and after you can always be able to publish it. So let me click on cancel and we continue. So let's go back to our file, and another option we are having here is the pack and go. We always use this pack and go whenever we want to prepare our publication to be taken to another computer or to be taken for commercial printing. So you can always be able to choose any of the two options here. Then it can always help you to package your publication with all the fonts, all the images, all the colors for delivery onto another computer. So we don't need this, so we can do it and see how it works. For example, if I want to take this to another computer, I can always say I want to take to another computer. Then it can tell me to continue pack your files to take to another computer. Then you can say next. Then where do you want to put this package? For example, I can browse and put it on the desktop under my folder for the publication that I already made. Because it was beginning with P, I can look for that from my folders here. Then I can select it, then I can say okay. After that, I can say finish. Then all my package will be taken to my folder. Then I can always be able to deliver it to another computer or for printing purposes. So let me cancel this because I don't want to do that for now. So let's go back to our file, and when we come back here, we have the option that says convert to a web publication. And when you publish a file to the web, you create a copy of your files as a unique web page with its own URL. It's like you're going to be transforming this publication into HTML files. But because I don't want to transform this into HTML files, I'll just end on a way. Let me just click on it and show you. So they're telling us that save your current print publication. So I can as well decide to save it or no. Then I can say next. Then I can always add navigation bars onto this website that I'm going to be saving. Then I can always use it as a website. But because we are still doing other items, I'm not going to be saving it as HTML files, because when you publish them as a website, then they will be turned into HTML files. So let me cancel this and we continue. So another option we have onto our file is what we call find adds in for other file format. And this one works automatically when you have internet. You can always look for some additional programs that can expand capabilities for all bigger programs. So it can help you to find different information from internet such that you can always modify your information. So it needs you when you're connected to the internet. Another one we have here is web preview. If you want to view your publication into a web browser, then you can always use this option. And when I click on it here, it will tell you, for example, the publication is set up for print. To create a website, convert it to a web publication. So I can say I want to preview. So it will open my browser. Then all this information will be viewed into my web browser. So I'm not going to do this. So I'm going to click on cancel. Then I continue with my file. So another option we have here is the page setup. Remember, whenever you're dealing with a publication, you have to set up your page the way you feel you want it. So that is always done under this section. And when I click on my page setup, it will take me back from where I chose the pages from. I can choose another page if I want, and I can as well come and look at the width and the height I want to use for my publication. If at all that is not enough for me, I can as well come and change the margin guides, for example, the left, top, bottom, and others. If these ones are not enough also, I can as well be able to come to the advanced section. For example, the layout type, for example, you have one page per sheet, or you can choose multiple pages, you can choose envelope, email, booklet, and so many others. It depends on how you really want to change your page. Another thing I want to tell you, or I want to show you here, is that now we have our sizes of the pages here. Now these sizes are given in centimeters. Whenever they give you different units, you can always go back and change the units. Let's try that one and see. We have centimeters here. Now, if we wanted to change these ones to other units, we can as well close this and come to the option that says tools and come to the option that says options. Having clicked there, we can always come and look at the measurements units. Then we can always choose the type of units that we want to use. For example, inches, centimeters, pickers, points, pixels. It depends on how the question wants you to change your page sizes and the units. So that is it for that one. Let me close this one. So let's come back here, and having come back here, we also have another one that says print setup. Now this one is going to help us to set up how our pages or how our publication is going to be printed. So you can just come and click on it, and when you click on it, it will take you whether you have one page per sheet. You can always change the page orientation, you can change the page size, and so many other, even the properties. You can also choose the type of printer that you're going to be using. Then afterwards, you can always click on the option that says OK, or you can even preview before printing. Let's close this and go back to our file. So another option we have here is the print preview. The print preview, remember I told you that you always have to preview your publication before printing it. So it displays something, how it will be printed out of your printer before you printing it. So let's click on it and see how it appears. And having clicked on it, it will show you how your publication will look like when you print it or when you send it to your printer. And this is how it will look like. It is always a good idea to always preview your publication before printing it, because at times you find that you're going to be having that publication onto more than one page. So you can always be able to adjust the sizes of your page, then it can always be able to fit onto one page, and that can only be done when you review the information before printing. Then afterwards, you can always decide to send your information to the printer, and a shortcut for that one is Ctrl+P. You're done with your publication, you want to print something, then you can always come and choose this option. Another option we have down here is send email. Whenever you want to send this publication as an email, you can always be able to attach it, and it also requires you to have internet. So down here we have the properties, and it shows us some of the publications that we've worked upon. So you can always choose any and reopen it whenever you feel you want. So down here we have what we call the exit, which is Alt F4. You're done with everything. You want to exit this application. You can always be able to exit it from here. So that is it for the file. Let's go and see how we can work with the edit. So when I click on the edit here, we have different other buttons here. For example, the undo. What does the undo mean? It is always going to help us to reverse the action that we have done. For example, I've already put this word here. For example, let me say I wanted to add, let's say something. Let me just put a space and put B. When I put this B and I didn't want it there, I can always come to my edit. Then I can come and say undo. It will reverse the action. Then another option down here we have is the redo. It is going to re-execute the undone command. In case I wanted that B to come back, I can as well come and click on the redo, then it will bring that B for me. So let me just remove it by doing undo, it will go. So we have undo and redo. Another option we have here is the cut. So cutting is going to be removing something from its original place. Then we can always place it in another location that we feel we want. For example, if we have it on one page and want to put it on another page, it can always be okay for us. For example, if I come down here, remember I'm having one page, I can decide to put another page from here by right clicking onto it. When I right click onto this, I can come and say insert page. When I insert a page, they will tell me how many pages that I want. I want only one page. Is it before or after? You can always decide from here. Then I can say, okay, so now I have two pages. This is page one, this is page two. In case I wanted to cut this word Henry the computer guy from one page to another, I can just come and click on it. Then afterwards, come and click onto the option that says cut. Then it can go away. Then it will be saved onto my clipboard. So when I come back to my page 2, I can as well decide to come and say, I want to paste that information there. So I can decide to paste this information here. So it is from page 1 now to page what? Page 2. So that is how we can use the cut option. So let's continue and see what we are having. We have the copy. Of course, this one makes a duplicate of what we are having. For example, I will click on this, then afterwards I'll come and say edit, then come and click on copy, then I can come and click in space, then I can come back and say paste. It depends on the number of times that you have pasted. If you press paste 2 times, then it will give you that information 2 times. It depends on how many times you want to paste that word or that information. Okay, when we come back onto our edit, another option we are having is the clipboard. So actually when you copy something, it goes to the clipboard. And remember, when I click already, I copied something, so it was put onto my clipboard. So when I come back here and say, again, let me say copy Control C, it will be put onto my clipboard because it's the same, so it will not be changing. But if I cut, let me say I click on it, then I come and say cut. So it is going to be taken back because it is the same. So you won't be seeing any change, but that information is going to be stored onto my clipboard. It is an area in memory that stores either copied or cut text, and later you can always decide to paste that information in any location of your choice. So that is the clipboard. Another option we have here is what we call paste spatial. What does the paste spatial do? It helps us to paste an item without all the formattings that it had. For example, if you had, let's say, this information, let me say I can say highlight this, I can make this one bold, I can decide to give it some color, let me say give it red, I can decide to increase the size to 72, then let me just leave it on 48, just like for it to be visible. So this is what I have. After copying this information, let me say I want to copy. I'll come and say copy. And having copied this information, now you're seeing our clipboard has 2 items because they are different. But if it was the same, then it wouldn't have added another one. So here, now we want to come and paste this information using the paste spatial. It will allow us to paste this item without all the formattings that it has. Then I'll come and say, let me first put another text box down here. I'll come and say this. Because I want to paste this word here, I'll come and say paste spatial. Then I'll come and select paste spatial. Then I decide to choose any option here that I want, unformatted text. Then I'll come and say okay. So it is going to put this word without the formattings that I had put here. So they are not all that visible. I can now decide to make the other changes that I wanted to make for that. For example, it's now that. So whenever you want to use the paste spatial, it will allow you to paste your items without all the formattings that it really had from the beginning that you copied it with. Then another option that we have is the delete text. For example, we have the text here, we want to delete that text. You come and say, I want to delete that text. If I had an object, I can say, I want to delete the object. If I want to delete a page, now I have 2 of them. I have this one, I have this one. Let me say I want to remove one. I can come and say, I want to delete the page. Or I want to move the page. For example, if it has been number 1, you want to make it number 2, you can always decide to move the page. For example, how do you want to move the page? You want before, you want page 1 or page 2, then it can always help you to do that. So another option here we have is the select all. For example, let's go back to the page that has items here. So if it is non-selected, you want to select all the items onto your page or blank page, you'll come and say select all. Then it will be able to highlight everything that you have onto your page. That is okay for now. So another option that we are having is the find. For example, you want to locate occurrences onto your publication, you can always click on find. Then after you write the word that you want to find, for example, I want to find the word guy. And having clicked that, I can say find next. Then they will help me to find this word. If I wanted to replace that word, I can always come and say replace. Then I write the word, let's say, this is having a capital letter, I can replace with the one with, let me say, I can replace it. Let's say I want to replace it with another word. Let's say Henry the computer geek. Then I'll come and say replace all. So it will come and replace all these into my publication. So they have removed guy, then they have put the geek. So that is the find and a replace. So let's go to what we call the go to. If I told you on page 2 and you want to go to page 1, you're on page 3, you want to go to page 10, you can always use this option. It can as well work for you. For example, if I click on it, they will ask me the page I want to go to. If I want to go to page 1, then I can type 1, then I say okay. They take me to page 1, and remember our page 1 was blank. So it can always help you to move around your page of application. Another option that we have here is actually working on links, and we don't have any link here. We can create one. For example, let me make this one a little bit very small, just like that. So you see some words are not visible just because they cannot fit into this text box. I want to create another text box. When I click on text box, I can drag it and put it here. Then I want to create a link between these two text boxes. Remember, we've worked upon that before. You come onto this section, create link, then you can as well decide to drop it into the second. So all the words that could not fit into the first text box will come into the second text box because you have now linked them to one another. Now, when we come back to our edit, we can now have an option there. For example, we can decide to edit this story in Microsoft Word. So that means that it's going to open Word, then we can always decide to open or edit that information from there. So it is editing now here. So we have Henry the computer guy. We can add, let's say, something here that we wanted to add. Then after we can save and go back to our application. So the H has been added for us. So that is it for the edit story in Microsoft Word. Then down here we have what we call the business information, and under the business information I told you in the beginning that you can always put any business information because it is editable, and you can even add your motto, you can even add your logo and keep this information such that whenever you feel you want to insert it into your publication, you can always insert it with ease. And that is okay for now. I don't want to do this. Let me say cancel. So we are going to be going to the third tab, and that is the view. Onto the view option, we have first of all the two-page spread. This is actually a printing convention that represents leading and trailing pages in a bond of folded projects such as a book, booklet, a newsletter, or greeting cards. So we can always use that when we want to use that two-page spread. Another one is the master page. Remember, when you make something a master, you can always use it to apply items onto other items. So you can use the master page in Publisher to change the default appearance of pages in your publication. So you can always click on it if you want to work with it. If you don't want to work with it, then you can always close it from the view section also, just like that. Let's go to another option, and that is the ignore master. We can ignore the master, then we work with other pages that we are having. Another option we are going to be talking about is the task pane. Now we've been working with the task pane, but we didn't know that it can as well be taken away or worked upon. For example, if I click on it here, it's going to disappear. You'll find that you've been working onto a computer, but you find that the task pane is not there. How do we bring that task pane back? We always come onto the section that says, then we can always click onto task pane, then we can always be able to work with it. And it can as well act as the find and replace because it can help us to navigate through our publication. Everything that we've worked upon is always stored onto our task pane. We can always go through that information, then work with it if we feel we need to revisit it. So another option we have is the toolbar. And last time in our previous videos, we talked about the toolbars, and the toolbars are these ones up here. The two toolbars we have are here. We can decide to remove them and nothing remains there. By coming to this section, I can come and say toolbar. I decide to put items I only want onto those toolbar. For example, I can decide to put this. It does that. Then I can come back again and say, I want to, let's say, add this, add all this. I can even decide to remove the standard. I can even come and say, I want to remove the formatting. You're going to find out that they are not appearing here. So whenever you find a computer, you want to use it and all these things are not here. So you can always go to the view section and click onto the toolbars, then come and select them. They will be brought back for you. Let me do this and bring them back. So that is it, that you can work with the view section onto the toolbars. So another option that we are actually having is the ruler. When we come down here, we have our ruler, and the ruler will also help you wherever, for example, you want to measure the length of your text boxes, the images, and other objects. So the ruler will always be able to work for you. And whenever you move through the different sections here, they will be always giving you the measurements down here onto what we call the object size. So that is our ruler that we are having. So you can always just come and click onto that ruler. Then it is always either brought or taken away for you. So the ruler is up here. Another option that we have here is what we call the spatial characters. So whenever, for example, if I decide to leave some spaces here, you're going to find out that you're not seeing the spaces. But when I come to the view section and I want to know how many spaces that are left there, I can just click on it. Then it will show me that the spaces were left are, let's say, 5, 7, or 10, depending on how the person put the spaces. That is okay for the spatial character. I can remove it. Then another option that we have here is the boundaries and the guides. We can decide to remove all these boundaries onto this by selecting this option. So you'll not be able to see any boundary here. When you put a text box, it will be invisible, but you'll always be putting items there. But it's always a good advantage to leave them there because they will show you how your text boxes are looking like and where they really pass, such that you can always decide to put the sizes that you feel you want for those text boxes. So whenever you want to bring them back, again, you just come and click on boundaries and guides, so you'll always be able to look at them. Another option we have is the picture. And whenever you want to work upon a picture, you can always work upon the picture display from this section. Detailed display, fast resize and zoom, hide picture, you can always pick any option of your choice. So let me come to another option here, and it is the header or footer. You want to put a header onto your publication and a footer onto your publication, you can always come to this section. For example, I want to put, let's say, Henry. Then onto my footer, of course, I'll have to go or scroll down. Then I'll look for my footer. Then I'll put, let's say, computer guy. Computer guy. Then afterwards, I'll click in space. It will help me to put that footer and header for me. So I can now decide to go back to this other section for the zooming. Then I can decide to zoom. Let's say it has now been enlarged. So I can decide to make it a little bit smaller by putting at 60. Then that's how it will look like for me. So I have the header, I have the footer, and I can as well decide to change the zoom in and the zoom out. You can as well work with it from here by changing it or decreasing it or increasing it again, depending on how you want your publication to look like. So another option that we have, actually, we are done with the zooming, so we can go to the insert option. And I think all these ones are going to be very simple. For example, we've learned how to insert a page. You want to insert a page, you can just come and click onto this section. How many pages? Let me say I want 3. So they will just be put for me down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and others. So those are the pages that we are having. And we can only do that after clicking onto the insert option. So when we come back here, we can as well decide to duplicate a page. If we have already the information on a certain page and we want to duplicate it, we can always come and say, come and duplicate that page. So it will just be appearing twice. It depends on how many times you want to duplicate it. So if you don't choose this section up here, you can as well decide to right click onto a page, then come and look at some options here. Insert a page, you can duplicate, you can insert a section, delete a page, move it, apply master, rename a page, view to page spread. Many options are available for you. Let's come back to our option here for the insert, and they're telling us that we have the section. We can decide to put sections here. For example, if I want another section from, let's say, page 4, I can come and say insert, then I say section. Then which section? I want to begin a new section. I'll come and select this. And having selected that, I want it to begin, for example, from number 1 again, not from 4. Let me just reduce it. Then it will do that for me. So I have 1, 2, 3. then 1, 2, 3. So I have two sections now of those pages that I have here. Another one is inserting the date and time. You want to insert the date and time into your publication. You can always come and select this one here. Then another option we are having down here, which is inactive right now, is the symbols. So let me come to my page one. I come and put a text box. When I put a text box, I can come and onto my insert option. I decide to put any type of symbol I feel I want from all these that are available for me. So you come, you say insert, say insert. So they'll be displayed into your work. You can always increase the size depending on exactly how you want them to look like. And those are my symbols. So another option onto the insert we're having is what we call the design gallery. And I remember in the previous video, we saw how we can work with the design gallery. For example, if I wanted some borders onto my publication, onto my page, I can decide to choose them from the design gallery. For example, I come to this and I can say, I want to use this. I'll come and say insert. So it will come for me. Let me just make it a little bit smaller. Then I can start to reduce the sizes depending on exactly how I want it to be onto my page. These are the borders I want to put. So I just selected it from the design gallery. So that is how it will look like. When I decide to preview my item, that is how it will look like for me. So another option that we have on the insert is what we call the add to content library. So you can decide to add something to the content library and you can always be able to reuse it whenever you feel you want. Let me come back to the content, to the design gallery and put some items. Let's say I have let me see, a scent box. I can decide to put this. Let me say I want this. I want to put this one, double click on it so it is here. If I always want to reuse this item, I can add it to my content library so that I can always work with it whenever I feel I want. So I'll come onto my insert, then I can say add to content library and they will ask me for some information. Where exactly do you want it to go? I want it to go to all the categories. Then I can say okay. So whenever I want to reuse it, I can just always pick it from my options here. So now you see those are two. I can say I want another one. Those are now three. I can always reuse it into my publication after saving it into my content library. And whenever I want to look at the content library, you can always come to this section. When you want to add something there, you come and add it from here. Then the business information, we can click on the business information. Remember in the beginning, I showed you how you can add this business information and whenever you want to use it, you can always double click on it. Then it comes with that information. Then you can always work with it. For example, let me enlarge this one a little. I also increase the size to something like 20 something, 26. So this is the information, but I've gotten this one from what we call the business information. Because it has been there, I can always reuse it whenever I feel I want. I can edit this information whenever I feel I want. So another option that we have is the picture. We did this one in our previous video. You want to insert a picture from the clip art, from the file, empty picture frame, scanner, content library. You can even add auto shapes or even use word art. You can always be able to work with it the way you feel you want. For example, when I come back to my other page here, I want to put some word art. I'll just come and say, we want to come to a picture, then I can come and choose my word art. Then I can choose the type of word art I'm going to be using for that Henry the Computer Geek. Then I can always use this in my work wherever I feel I want. And there are many options you can as well work with here. For example, I can decide to insert another word art, edit the words which are there. I can even decide to get word art gallery. For example, I go back, I change it to another one. Then I can put the format the word art the way I feel I want by putting the colors and different other things that you really want onto that and other options that you can work with there. Let me remove this one. So another option that we have here is actually the text box, and we've been using this one, you know how to put that. Then for the text, file, you can always click on it. Then it can help you to create a new text box where you're going to be browsing information and put it there for you. Also, I'm going to be canceling this because we've done it before. So another option that we have is actually the object. You want to work with objects. You want to, let's say I have this, then I want to come and make changes onto that object. I can always be able to add this. For example, I want to add an equation into that text box. I want to add other items. There are many items here you can add here. There are many you can pick from. You can always click OK if you feel you want to reuse it. So another option we have here is the hyperlink, and we say the hyperlink can help us to jump from one page to another. For example, if I have this word Henry, I can decide to create a link here by clicking onto this, or I can come and click onto my insert, then I can be able to create a link, let's say to another page that I feel I want. I'm going to be putting it on page 6, then I can say OK. So if I come back here and press Control, then click on it, it will take me to page 6, which remember we had made sections. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are 6 pages. So that is what we have. So another option we have here is the bookmark, and it will help you to assign name to a different section or a certain section into your publication. And I remember we used this one in the previous video. So we are going to go to the formatting option, and under the formatting option, this one works when we have a text box having some characters there. So let me click on one here. For example, let me go to 2. So if I come and highlight here, I can come and decide to format this in any way that I want. So I have my font. I can choose the font here. I can choose the style. I can choose the size. I can choose whether it's going to be underlined, and with different types of underlining, and I can even choose the color to use there. I can have other effects, for example, the superscript, the subscript, outline, emboss, and so many others. And they'll be showing you the preview here, the way your text will look like. So another option we have is the character spacing. You can choose to space your characters, let's say normal, very tight, loose, and other sections. Either you use it before or you want to use it after, it will be working for you. Then you can always choose the units you want to use onto that section. Another option that we have here onto this is the paragraph, and you can work with your paragraph. For example, you want to center, you want to put some indentation, you want to put some line spacing, it is also here for you. Another option here we have is actually you want to put some bullets and numbering. You can always do this from this section and work with the bullets and the numbering. Here we have the bullets and here we have the numbering. You can choose any type of numbering that you want to use, and then you say OK. So another option here we have is the horizontal rule. When I come back to my first page here, I can highlight this information, then put a horizontal rule there. For example, it will put a horizontal rule, for example, here or after, just like that. These are the lines that they have put for me as the horizontal rule. So when we come back here onto our format, we have another option that is the tab, and we can always use this one to set our tab stops within our publication. Then here we have what we call the drop cap, which is going to be making one character to be dropped across multiple lines. Whenever you want to use it, you can always find it into this section. Then you can say, okay. So I'm going to be a little bit fast because we worked with most of these items. That is why I'm not completing all of them. And we can also use the autofill the way you want it, best fit, and others. You can also well work with the background. And the background is actually going to be transforming your page. For example, you want to choose this, you want to choose this, you want to choose this, or more background options whereby you can choose the gradient, the texture, the pattern, the picture, the tint. And for the gradient, you can choose either one color, you can choose 2 colors, you can choose preset, and more other options, the transparency, the shading style, and others the way you want. So that is it for now. I'm going to undo the background because I don't want to put the background. I'm pressing Ctrl Z for undoing. Another option we have here is going to be the format publication. And format publication is here. It actually works as the navigation pen also. As we work upon different things, they are going to be stored here, so we can always review them. Then another one is going to be the page options. We can choose the color schemes, we can choose the font, the styles, the apply master page. We can also work on a certain text box. For example, we have it here and we want to make some changes. Instead of double clicking on it, you can always come on format, then come and click text box. It will give you the same options the way you double click on that text box and work on it. For example, you have the sizes, we have the layouts, we have the text boxes. We can as well work with many options there. Okay, another option or another tab we have here is actually the tools, and on the tools we have the spelling, we have the research, the language, the design checker, the graphics manager. Then one option I want to talk about here is the options, whereby we can change the measurements of our publication. For example, from centimeters to inches, points, speakers, pixels, and so many others. Then another one, if you wanted to work with a macro mailings, then you can always find them here. The adsin are always here. Then we come to the table. You want to insert a table, you want to delete a table, you want to select a table, merge the cells. So we did all these items in our previous videos. So if you're not okay with them, you can visit our first video and work with them. Then under the arrange, we can work with the layout guides. For example, you want to put some measurements here, either you want to page, then you can always decide to separate it from here. If you want to change the margin guides, then you can always decide to push them like this. Let's say I want them to be at 0. I want them to be at 0. I want them to be at 0. So it will push all of them to the margins the way you want them to be. So now they are here. Here they have left some space, Here there is no, and here there is no. That is how you can work with the arrange. And others you can send to master page. We have the rulers and guides, wrapping, grouping. You can always work with them under this section. And here we have the window where we can arrange all. We can also use the cascade. And lastly, we have the help, whereby you want some offline you want to search for some information offline, you can always come to this section and press the F1 button, or you can always come and contact them, or some other information that you want to find is always under the help tab. So that is it that I had for my menu bar, and it's been Henry the Computer Guy. If you feel you're new to my channel, please help me and click the subscribe button and the notification bell to always be notified when a new video has been uploaded. Bye bye, I sign out.